Imagine, if you will, sitting down to your morning coffee, turning on your home computer to read the day's newspaper. Well, it's not as far-fetched as it may seem.
Everybody's reasoning, throughout all the different performance management programs, all the different changes in methodology, like they're reasoning all along the way. So I think it's, we got to be careful with that we're not just harming people while we're trying to unharm people, right? You idiots did that. No, it's like we did this thing, obviously, but maybe we can do a little bit of a different thing.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of the Hired Thought podcast. I am very happy to be joined today by Anthony Mastrean. He and I go way back. We worked together at an old organization. He taught me a lot of things, and I like to think that we have a lot of interesting stories to tell. Anthony, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you right now in this wonderful world?
Hey, Ben. I'm actually working from home these days, which is, man, it's really screwing me up for like future employment. Like, I don't know if I can go back to somebody else's office, in any capacity.
Get an arm while you're working every morning? Is that how that works?
Yeah, well, that's a big part of it, right? I've got 2 little ones, so there's occasionally they're my pair programmers or office partners, if you want to call them that.
Yeah, family mob programming, I guess.
Right. Yeah, so maybe in a couple of years when they're like in public school for most of the day, that might change things. But
so you're working from home. We met when we were working at McKesson. We were working on pharmacy systems and doing kind of like lots of interesting stuff there. I guess like let's talk through the origin story just a little bit. I think I first met you at Devop Days Pittsburgh 2014.
yeah, there was I think of that like as the year of serendipity. Like there was a lot of meetings and happenings and like intellectual things occurring. For myself, I don't know. Maybe for Pittsburgh, it's hard to like claim any of that for an entire region, but there was definitely some stuff starting that year.
Yeah, let's claim it for Pittsburgh. Let's claim it for you too. Yeah, I mean, so tell me a little bit about that though. Like what was going on that year for you?
I think the way I like to describe it I don't know. I don't know whether to be cheeky or like introspective. Like I think I became like a reluctant Devop or something like that, right?
The lone reluctant Devop.
Right, like was it reluctant or is it like I don't know. Anyway, I had like had enough of just normal application development, which is funny because like man, that's where like that's the meat of this industry. So many developers developing, right? Yet there's so much more work to be done. And I think I, whether accidentally or kind of subconsciously, found myself constantly drawn to that other stuff, right? The things that happen not just before, right, you start jamming on the keyboard, right? What's up with work planning, or organization of teams, or is this a Jira ticket? Like, what kind of system are we using, right? But like even after all that, right? Like, okay, we've got this code. Where's it going? Is there a build?
Yeah.
Are there tests? Should you test first? Is the build passing? Has it been read for 4 months? Like, all these, like, what about deployment? Who's deploying this and where? And how are those environments managed? Even down a little bit, like, well, where am I committing this code to? Whose server is running source control? It's actually a desktop under someone's desk. Like there's all these questions I think that surround just development that I think a lot of people make a lot of it like, well, that's just what developers ought to understand all that. I think that's like Twitter, like the Twitter version of the job, right? Sure, all you blue check mark people on Twitter saying that developers should know all this, right? That's different than like the thousands of people we've all worked with who don't work like that. So there's this massive gap,
And you can point at like all sorts of stuff. Like how do people learn? How is it that you are supposed to have come about or come by those skills, by that knowledge? I mean, and the reality is, I think in a lot of, especially enterprise organizations, and perhaps enterprise organizations in Pittsburgh in particular, maybe I'm being a little bit too broad sweeping here, but like I think there's a tendency to create bubbles and stay within them, And if you are doing any migrating, it's maybe between bubbles every couple of years. But they're all such small bubbles that they're missing the larger picture of the larger changes in practice. I mean, what do you think is at the center of that? Is it just we're not learning when we should be learning? Or like, if we should know that stuff and all the blue check mark people are telling us that, like, okay, but how and why and when?
Well, yes, so it's interesting maybe to use Pittsburgh as a foil, right? Like I don't think we have any teal organizations right here in Pittsburgh. If you want to like, think of the wackiest organizations that are out there somewhere. So what we've got going on is very traditional, right? Like, well, we need project management, so we've got a project management office, right? Well, those developers just need to be developing, so we've got the test group, right? And they're probably offshore still. It's 2019, we still have offshore test groups, right? Or well, the developers need to develop, so we need to have, who's going to put all that software together? Well, let's have a configuration management group, right? Or let's have a build and release team. Certainly we have operators, right? And they've got their own VP of operations. Like there is no direct line between developers and operations. So like, I hesitate to say these things just exist because they exist, right? It's not, I don't want to give a tautological answer, but like, man, these things just seem to exist. I don't know, like, I don't think we have enough, like, we need to bring the anthropologists in, right, and say, like, why did we do this? Tell us, because we can't see it, right? We're too close to it to understand why they exist, let alone how to change it in some cases, I think, right? These are the systems of rewards and incentives, and I mean, how about just job descriptions? You know,
God, don't even.
I'm sure I've encountered plenty of these team members, right? You know, the developer, the CM guy, that whatever, who maybe they even want to grow beyond what they're doing now, but boy, it's not in the performance review system, you know. So I'm not going to cross that line. It's too scary in a way, right? Or there's too much risk in doing that.
Yeah, you have to take on a lot of risk as an individual to attempt to be essentially an anomaly, right? Like if the rest of the organization is aiming for uniformity, like, I mean, it's interesting that you mentioned job descriptions, because like my whole thing with that is, tell me how you are going to describe exactly the kind of person that you want to bring in, as if it's a part you can go down to a shop and like, I need part CL732 and I need it in this configuration and as part of this like warranty package, like all that kind of stuff, as if it's like a fungible thing you just plug in.
Yeah. How dare you describe a complex job with, you know, very simple statements in a job description, right? You know.
When I was looking for work, and really like before we started working together, and even like after in later stages in my career, I was just looking at job descriptions, and the problem for me was constantly trying to project a version of myself that might fit into some of these boxes. Right. And I always just found that to be like an impossible kind of idea, because one, they're not describing it like remotely.
Not really,
like,
right?
Nomenologically, they are not describing the thing. They are describing an idealized version of the thing, which is not even like, that doesn't exist. That is
right. I'm always going to get this wrong, but there's a fellow out there, Stephen Shorrock, and I'm sure it's not, I don't know if it's his idea or not, but he often comes back to this concept that there are overlapping and non-overlapping things, like work as designed, work as described, work as understood, right? And these things very rarely and in very small parts do they ever overlap, right? So yeah, the job description is like, wow, and who the hell wrote this thing too, right? That probably has a big effect as well. So is it what we want the job to be? Is it what the job is? Is it what I think the job is, right? Like there's so many, or is it what I think will get candidates in for the job? Like it's just such nonsense. Like
it's so multidimensional, and I think this shows up everywhere, right? And I guess the kind of joke here is like at one point I was helping write job descriptions, like when I worked for the state of PA, like we needed to hire sysadmins, and like I won't say that was my responsibility, but I was certainly contributing to that.
Right. And well, like I can do this better, right? I can help make this improvement, and maybe you do within an axis, though, right? Like within whatever version of the job description that you thought the job description should be.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe you did make it better, but
that's our pathology, I think, is we kind of like show up and we're like, okay, this system seems to be like it's working clearly, but it's also causing a lot of pain. Like there are a lot of like bones being ground up in the middle of it.
So I think it was, again, lots of accidents, right? Like I started my career at FedEx and talk about like all the syndromes, right? That like any organization could have. It was there, right? There's pigeonhole development, offshore testing, a CM team, right? A team that was responsible for the builds, right? The golden images and such. And towards the end of my run there, it was so, I don't even know whether to call it dysfunctional or not, because actually we made it functional by, at some point, someone sent the CM team a script to build the software, because they didn't even the CM team didn't even write the scripts, right? They just ran the scripts to build the software. And at some point, the script we gave them just printed success. And then a senior architect went off and actually did the build and release like separately.
Wow.
Like, so again, like dysfunctional or functional, right? Or I don't even know how to describe. So there was like some formative stuff going on there, at least. Here's how some big organizations can operate. I won't say that was all of them, but it sure did. Like it looked like a thing.
Well, I mean, right? We like our process. We like having little boxes to check off as we go along. But I mean, I think the thing that I learned while working with you a bit, and really like the lesson that's been reinforced over and over again as I've been finding my way into larger organizations, working in kind of like a consulting and support capacity, I just see how much all this stuff is just made up. Like it's all, we are constructing reality around us to the extent that someone else has to construct an interface to that reality. Like the script example that you just gave, is like, oh, this person will be nervous if they don't have this part of their process to check off.
Right. And so or they might not have a job, which, I mean, understandable, but like,
yeah,
man, is that a good reason? Like, I think at McKesson, it was interesting. So I came in, the team was called software configuration management, right? Like, what is that? Like that terminology is even like really old, right? Except maybe it might only be old to the coasts, right? Like a lot of businesses in the middle of the country are like they still have a thing called SCM, right? And I actually think it's still a discipline, right? I think there are topic areas and there are knowledge areas there and there are patterns and practices, and I hesitate to maybe even say best practices, right? For software configuration management, definitely. Now, and oh man, I'm about to be like, so what is the word? Well, I'm going to be cheesy, right? Like this job shouldn't exist, right? Like, oh, I want to, so I joined this weird place, right? Not a developer, which actually I'm happy because the software system we were working on is 15-year-old Java swing application, right? Like, boy, I really didn't want to jump into that, right? But I could jump in on the edge of that, right? As in the SCM team, right? So here, run the subversion server, right? Like babysit the builds, right? Handle the build and release process, right? So now I was that guy, right? That I was previously handing empty scripts to. But could we affect change, right? Like, could we come in, and again, cheesy as it may sound, like this job doesn't need to exist, right? Developers are already doing this work, right? Or they're so close to it. And to hint at the Wardley side of things, like, why can't we commoditize these things, right? Like, why your branching strategy ought not to be creative, right? Your build system should not be bespoke, right? Most cases for line of business apps, right? Like literally, why does this job exist, right? Let's buy a couple of cloud services, whether that's some Bitbucket stuff, some GitLab stuff, some Jira stuff, right? Like, just buy something. Follow a best practice, follow a decent practice that's probably way better than what you're doing now. Maybe not the best, but like the job doesn't need to exist. But you know what job does need to exist? The agitator that gets everybody to change to the commodity thing.
Yeah, I think that's the key part of this, right? Is it's the transition between. I think all these systems that we build tend to try to maintain what already is working and what already exists, the known, and like it's working, so we should just keep doing it, right?
Right, it's working, but it's leaving. Look at the damage it's leaving in its wake.
Right.
And I don't think 10 years ago I wouldn't have been talking like this. I think maybe I was on the same path technically, but I was less focused on the people side. Right. I didn't see it. Maybe because 10 years ago I had boundless energy and whatnot. But like nowadays it's like, man, we're killing people. These jobs are killing people. We could do so much better and unleash their capacity and emotional capacity too. Not just like boy, we can get more stories done, but boy, we can make people feel more valuable. And if that like that valuability adds value to the company, let's go for it. You know, I think those two things are intertwined. You know,
the change that has occurred over like there's like a kind of leapfrog moment, right, where like you have the option to if you're not going to stay incrementally in step with the change that is going on around you, the evolution, if you will, of things that are practices, patterns, the technology, all that kind of stuff. If you're not going to stay in step with that, or even anticipate it, right? If you're not going to do that, you're going to fall behind. So like, I don't know exactly how to describe this kind of transition should happen in general, but I think it's useful to have like a momentary like transitionary role where you go from, I mean, what was the state of SCM before, right? Like before there was a centralized
tickets were open for 3 years.
Oh, I mean,
you
like
know, builds were read for 4 weeks at a time. Right?
Yeah, it's just
like there's a lot. It's funny. A lot of it's technical stuff, right? Like it's like you as a new person into this organization, which I think is desperately what this organization needed, right? The new guy at this organization had been there for 9 years. Right, and I'm saying guy a lot, but like literally, that's just who they were, you know, whatever. But like 9 years, like there's no way you're going to come in, like you're already taken away, like you're floating with the system at that point. So to be dropped in and to see that, right, to be able to see, oh, that build like has literally been read for 4 weeks. This ticket in my backlog now, right, has been open for 3 years. Like close it or fix it or something, right? But that's easy for me to say, because I'm not here with all the organizational, emotional baggage of like how it needs to close that. And I think maybe that's important too. Like this journey is not just technical. It's not. I doubt like these people were shipping successful software. You know, maybe not as fast as they could, which we found out later. Right, we were able to ship much faster. Like so, they're useful, technical, savvy individuals. So I think the problem was probably not like, oh, we needed someone to come in and like figure Puppet out or you know, do this migration from SVN to GitLab or whatever. A lot of people could do that, right? But a lot of the work was like, how do we bring these people along with us, right? They're scared, like literally people were scared, right? I don't think we can do it this way, right? I'm nervous about that, either because we're going to lose work or we're going to break something, or it's just going to hurt, right? What if we mess up, right? And then I've got to go backwards, or I have to learn something new. I'm so comfortable with the way we're doing it now, right?
Yeah, the performance improvement situation as well. It's like you are evaluated based on commitments that you made 3 quarters ago.
Yeah.
How? Like you cannot change.
Right.
Unless you adopt a mentality and have like the support structure that is able to look at that and go, yeah, well, duh, this should have changed. I think in some ways we had some luck there where some people were a little bit more willing to go along with the malleability of that.
Well, I believe our team was vacant for something like 6 to 9 months. So like the previous folks had, actually, I think it was a year that the last like proper SCM person had quit. Someone had stepped in like part-time to manage things, right? So obviously that wasn't going to be a huge change. And then it was like literally vacant. So there was no CM. And again, like, okay, well, so CM shouldn't exist, but in this context, it desperately needed to exist. So yeah, we came in with and I think we came into again total, like, I don't know how I would recreate this, or even if I should, but we had a new manager, a new director, a new VP, the president changed, like this whole like business unit down to our stupid little seats in the cube farm, right? Like changed in weeks. So, you know, our performance review was not the same one that was happening to these folks who've been there for 15 years. So lots and lots of things. Right.
Yeah, I mean, that was wild, right? Because on the one hand, it was like we could literally shape the way that we could do the work, the way that we thought that it should be done.
Right.
And
yeah, it was easy to come in and say, this is not how CM works, even though I didn't know that. Like, I wasn't sure. It's my first CM job. Like, what even is CM, right? That's what I've been trying to say. Like, really accidentally joined the team this way in a position I've never formally held. Like, is there even, you know, is CM even taught? Like, there's like one book that I know of, you know?
I mean, like, so I remember you like going into like all these places on the internet, just like trying to dig and dig and dig. Like, what is branching even? Like,
right.
Not just asking what what branching strategy should we use? Like what's
Right.
popular? It was more like, what is this even?
Like what even, yeah, like is it like this is the craziest thing about software development. And I guess a lot of people say, oh, it's a young discipline, whatever. But like we don't actually know, like for sure, like evidence wise, like we don't know that source control is good. Like prove, like I know that it's good, like I feel good when I'm using it, but we don't have anything, like there's no study, there's no pedagogy, like there's not, like all of these, like $100 words. Like we don't know why what we do should be done, what to do, why we should do it, how we should do it. We really don't. We have a lot of stories right now, and maybe that's how every, I don't know, industry like this starts. We don't have 5,000 years of history programming computers, but maybe someday we will.
I get really excited when I see some case studies about something like,
right,
like that. Oh,
at least, like, yeah. Oh, we only have stories, but at least let's bring 10 of them together in one paper, right? Like,
right.
Can I make sense of any of this? Like,
somebody trying to like do some analysis to sort of figure out like what makes sense here, what makes sense
right.
there. It's largely expert based, right? Like you have people who we kind of look to as kind of like the gods of the industry, if you will, and like
that's problematic.
Well, that's the way the blue check mark people. I mean, like here they are, and like here's the answer, and like they're largely giving like experiential, anecdotal evidence, and like I'm just thinking of from
a very unique perspective.
Yeah, totally.
Right, that's the thing. Like the blue check mark consultant, agile consultant, or whatever DevOps, like these people are already in a totally different context than the 30 of us that have been sitting on this team for the last 3 years, just trying to do whatever it is we're doing. Like there's no, and I think that's like, I like what the folks are doing with like the state of DevOps report, right? And of course we're going to go there, right? Like how you've got like PhDs and scientists and statisticians, you've got like serious people doing serious work on this industry that is like sorely lacking anything that's serious, right? But that I struggle with that. Like a lot of this stuff comes out, well, it's just like, just do trunk-based development. Okay. And then what? Like, or how do I even, like, what do you mean just do trunk-based development? I think we had, we had something on the order of like 60 branches. Like when we got there, like, and it was like, it was major, minor, patch, and hotfix. And I think we ran the numbers once, and like we have like an average of 17 hotfixes. We contractually promised a major, 2 minors, and like 3 patch versions. Like there was some, if you did the math on that, like we were supporting 45 versions of the software at once. And we were doing it through, or the team, the we that was there at the time, we were doing it through this like, whatever branching strategy we could figure out. You can't just, like, these people on Twitter and their 120 words or characters at the time, right? Like, just do trunk-based development. Good luck. Thanks a lot. You're an asshole. Like, I can't do anything with that. Like,
I think that's it. It's like, it's always
so frustrating.
Advice, right? Like, and I get that in order to move things forward, you have to work at the edge, in the sense that you have to point at something that is, like, if you're starting from nothing, you could probably consider starting here.
Right.
Like, that seems reasonable.
Right. Definitely. Yeah. If you were starting with nothing, right, that's great. And I think there's even like there's stuff out there, man, like I'm constantly impressed by GitLab. Like, just go get GitLab. Like, just buy it, the entire thing. They've got this whole, I know this is not an advertisement for GitLab, but the concept of like, here's a team who's producing tooling for you, and they're saying, we want to take care of the entire process, the entire life cycle of software, from planning to designing to developing to capturing issues to doing ops. Like, we're going to give you a toolkit. Now, it has opinions. It works in a certain situation. Some of those tools are at different maturity levels, but the fact that they even publish a maturity chart for each of their features is like really great.
I think that's really important to have that kind of structure in place, because the defaults that you get are, if they're not perfect, that's fine.
Right.
But they're at least sensible and principled, probably.
And they're at least not 15 years of custom scripts tying together custom processes, right? Like, at least you're moving from something structured. hopefully to something else structured, but that is a better choice for whatever your context is, right?
Yeah.
And that's again why it's so frustrating to get this advice. Like, or another one that I love is like, just do feature flags. So how do I move to trunk-based development when I've got like, I've got release per branch, I've got 45 releases that I'm contractually obligated to maintain. I'm a CM guy. Like I can't make this corporation decide to contract their software differently, right? We eventually did, but only because we had that whole management chain like entwined in this. Like, hey, how can we actually produce software faster? Well, stop promising that we're going to support 45 versions, right? Like that idea came from us, but it was enacted by them, right? Talked to legal and sales and everything. So like that is doable, but like on a much longer time scale. So, like, okay, how do I get to trunk-based development now that that's my, okay, great, that's my holy grail. How do I get there? Well, just do feature flags. Well, like, that's not like, have you ever done feature flags? That doesn't mean one thing. Like, it's complicated at best. You just gotta turn stuff on and off. Well, feature flags means like, you gotta really have your configuration sorted out. And that configuration now has to be exposed. Is that feature flags to the user, to an admin, to an operator? Like, who gets the feature flag? Where do they toggle it? How are you toggling? Like, you really got to have your dependency injection sorted out. What the hell's dependency injection, right? Like, you have to unwind all of the job, but just use featureflags.com, So frustrating, this entire job,
And there's so much work to be done to help people adopt practices from a standpoint of like, you're starting with what already exists, right? And actually finding a path from that,
right.
Do something sensible that's, well, not even just sensible, because it all makes sense, right? Like even the legacy, if you will, makes sense.
Right, like it's not like it can't be irrational if it got done by human beings and it was sold. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And I think a lot of people like to throw that around and like, oh, we're not rational, ha ha ha, like randomness, Like, no. I think what rational means is that you're reasoning. We are always reasoning, whether or not we're coming up with the right answer or the best answer or whatever, like there's whatever. But I think everybody was reasoning all along, right? These 15 years, that transition from startup to corporation. I think the team was bought and sold 3 or 4 times, right? Like, everybody's reasoning, throughout all the different performance management programs, all the different changes in methodology, like they're reasoning all along the way. So I think it's, we got to be careful with that. That we're not just harming people while we're trying to unharm people, right?
Right. Yeah. Like
you idiots did that. No, it's like we did this thing, obviously, but maybe we can do a little bit of a different thing, Yeah.
But this is probably like a weird place to go with this, but the thing that I heard Jabe say recently, like we had a really interesting conversation with Sue Borchardt about it was kind of like focused on some things that Jabe was tweeting about, but one of the things he mentioned was like Janus time, like the god of transition, like the two faces.
Yeah.
When you're changing, you are literally in both the future state and the previous past state at the same time, and you're trying to reconcile both of those things together. Just hearing that was like, oh, right. That's why it's so hard, because we have to be of two minds at once.
Right.
And I don't know about you, but I have a hard time being of one mind at any one given point in time, like let alone.
Right. And I mean, and in part, you're also, like we talked about earlier, you're in the mind of the thing that you're trying to change too, right? The thing was brought together by how many people, we call it the organization, because sometimes it's hard to literally know. Like I don't know who to blame for this, to go ask them, what were you thinking and why, and what were all the forces on you? No, like at some point we just kind of have a shortcut, right? The organization made this, maybe you understand what was going on in the organization at the time. And so now you're of two minds, you're reflecting on the other minds, right? Like it's, oh man, cut it out.
And most often the answer is nobody knows. Like it's all like in someone's head, and the only way that would ever make its way out is if you ask them specifically about it. And to even know who to ask is, of course, a question. And like if you're just doing inquiry, you're just trying to find out what happened, what brought us to this point, so you can figure out how to go from there, how to move on, how to move forward. Like it's just you almost have to do an archaeological kind of dig into the artifacts, into the org charts, into the like email threads, like all this kind of stuff to just figure out who is
right. And so these artifacts, right, and these behaviors that other people are having around these artifacts, implicit or explicit, like they're shaping the next person who comes in, and the next person who comes in, right, or the next decision that's made.
Yeah.
So like, you know, how did you get away doing this for 15 years? You know, it's because the first person did it, right, and
yeah,
never questioned it, or it wasn't hard enough, or it wasn't within there. Like that's what I wonder too. Like how many people? What was special about you and I that we came in and got rubbed the wrong way by something that had been going on for 15 years, right? Like, so was it bad if 15 years worth of people lived with it for that long? Like, you know, is something, how did we know to change it? Why now? You know, to what, right? Like, let's go. I'm on my TOC right now. Like, why did we change this, and why did we change it to what we changed it to? Like, and what was missing that nobody was changing it before, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe we didn't notice that they were, you know, crashing against the rocks of, you know, the organizational like inertia. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's a notion of agitation here though too. So you know about Tasshin, and like Tasshin is a Buddhist monk. He's really into theory of constraints, all this kind of stuff. But one of the things he talks about is this thing called Beria Mapping. And Beria Mapping is a way to think about power dynamics in organizations, and really how to, like, it's a way to think and model a system of social dynamics and power dynamics. But one of the aspects that he talks about is like the difference between live and dead players. Like dead players are basically following a script, and sometimes that's very good to be doing. Whereas live players are often breaking scripts and writing their own. And that is also great for certain circumstances and all this kind of stuff. And like, it's not like a binary thing. I think it's probably more of a gradient kind of dynamic. But when you talk about like, what is it that's keeping the things going, is like you have a lot of people following scripts, and then there's the agitator, the heretic. And I think that's kind of the role that you played for, maybe what happened was that there was a pocket of progressively more heretical individuals
right.
in this organization. And what that enabled was like those people bringing in other people that were even more heretical. And then
it was kind of by chance then, even.
Well, yeah, like,
yeah.
I mean, everything's by chance, maybe.
That's probably true, right?
But at the same time, like you were particularly, I'm going to use the word agitating, but I mean it in like a good way. Like, you're looking at this system and going, what? Like, right. What are you doing? Like, this doesn't make any sense. Why would you do that to that person? Like, all that kind of stuff didn't make sense to you. And
when that's what it comes down to, it's not, and I think this is hard for even the best operator. It's not this is bad morally. Like, you're doing something. Although maybe that is sometimes the first inclination. Like, this is maybe more, it's more phrased like, this is wrong technically, right? But how do I know that, right? Well, because you're hurting people, right? Like, well, like you talked about on the episode I listened to, the process that occurred at the end of a release that someone had to take home on their laptop, right, and fight all weekend. But like, how can you do this to people, right? Like, how can you let this person perform this process at the end of the release for years and years on end, chewing up weekends, when it was an rsync? You know, like, that's what's so frustrating. It's like, it's not even new stuff, right? Yeah. It wasn't new technology. It wasn't some creative endeavor. Like, if anybody took a minute to write it down, they would have been like, what are we? We're asking who to do what? How many times? When? Like, it was just, I think it would have been so obvious, but I don't know. It's hard to, go back and think about it like that.
Anthony, thank you so much for coming on and talking to me. I really appreciate your time. And I'm so glad that we got to talk a little bit about software and systems and humans and all this wonderful stuff. How can people find out more about you? How can people ask you questions and things?
Don't. I'm at Anthony Mastrean, and I'm sure Ben will put the link somewhere.
Yeah,
that's probably the best way to get to me right now. I have like a bad website that's got like garbage on it. Constantly hoping to update those materials, right?
It's almost like it's kind of like a metaphor for software.
It really is, right? Like, it's not going to do it.
Oh, all right. Thanks, man. I'll put a link to
Thanks, man.
the all the things in the show notes.
Cool.